Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. Well, I had to make the slog to D.C. without Jimmy Failla this year. That's okay. The tour manager, my bodyguard, we got some stuff done. We made some new friends, including a couple of former and present mayors of New York City. And now I'm back to tell the tale of D.C. and the White House Correspondents' dinner, which was, by all accounts, lackluster. Yeah! The dinner was boring because it was a bunch of journalists patting themselves on the back for being more partisan than not.
Yeah.
And they hired a hack comic and then found out she was anti-Trump and fired her. And that made her a victim. And people were like, do you feel bad about it? I'm like, I heard she wasn't funny, so I don't really
terrible.
feel bad.
Musical improv. Amber Ruffin. About as funny as an orphanage on fire on Christmas Day. I mean, no, she's terrible.
And why am I laughing at that?
I know.
That's
I don't even know why,
what a
but
bad
it
person
works.
I am.
Yeah, no, you're not. You get it. But this is what happened to that event for real. It's like it's become that cartoon Garfield minus Garfield. There was a guy who was a hit like 10 years ago on the internet because he was taking Garfield out of comic strips. So you were just looking at interactions between Dave and Odie, and it seemed a little whack. But that's what the Correspondents' Dinner is if you don't have the president, which is supposed to be the centerpiece, and a comedian to kind of roast the vibe.
Of course. But it's possible, as we've seen in the past, to roast the president even when he's not in attendance. And it would have been great if someone deft who could really take shots at both sides, because that's what people want. But they didn't have that. Like, they had Colin Jost, and although he was a Biden suck-up last year.
Oh, yeah, that was embarrassing.
And Scarlett Johansson, and they had a lot of A-listers last year. There was one, and I wouldn't even put him on the A-list. There was one guy who is incidentally very famous right now. It was the dad from White Lotus.
Yeah.
The coconut milk is off. The coconut milk is off. He was there, and he was a complete jerk. Wouldn't take pictures with anyone. I had my phone. I was like, can we take a picture? He said, I'm not taking any pictures. But he said it in a British accent, which makes him a phony. Just kidding. And I was like, you're a dick.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
And speaking of, did you meet Bill de Blasio?
I did meet Bill de Blasio.
So how was he as a waiter? Was he on time? Was he punctual?
So he was at the UTA party because he's trying to figure out if he should sign with an agency.
Oh, boy.
And I asked him if he was going to run for president. And
what is fantasy football league?
Yeah. And he was like, but when you are the governor of California, the mayor of New York, those high-profile local positions that are actually national, all you think about is using that as a stepping stone to the presidency. You don't do it because you love New York. You know, Bill de Blasio's tenure was a disservice to New York.
Yeah.
He was actually a very funny, jovial person.
Yes.
Like, this is someone who was so relieved to no longer be in office that he doesn't care. He was with his attractive, much younger girlfriend, and he was yucking it up. He was having a great time. And he told me that he wanted to start a podcast called Not the French Laundry.
To stick it to Newsom. See, I get behind that. A good trolling effort by de Blasio. And I don't know that he's ever actually going to run for office, obviously. But the whole problem with that scene now is it's so self-congratulatory. And like, we used to laugh at it. If you remember the first year we were there, they were actually awarding people for reporting on the Russian collusion story.
Yes.
But it was after the fact that the Mueller probe had already fizzled out.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. It was like, imagine if they gave Geraldo an award for everything he found in Al Capone's vault.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you fearlessly went in there and just carried sand out. You know, it was dumb. And then, if you remember, the second year we went, they had that big celebrating the First Amendment, but it was the same month that Nina Jankowicz nutbag had launched the Ministry of Disinformation.
Yes.
They were actively censoring the First Amendment. They had just deplatformed Trump.
Yes.
Like, free speech lives at the Correspondents' Dinner. I'm like, free meaning you're not getting paid to give the speech tonight, but not free speech.
No, and it was very funny because the Photojournalism Award did not go to the image of Trump covered
Getting
in blood
shot?
with his fist raised. No.
Who'd it go to?
It was a photographer who snapped a photo of Biden sort of doddering around one of the rooms at the White House.
Got balls of
And
these
they're
people.
like, this is why this photo is so stunning. There's a man there next to the president, and the president doesn't realize he's there. And it's like, that's the image of the year? Like, you didn't award the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination
Well, it's
photograph a
such
year
an
ago because
iconic-
it only happened in July.
Oh my God,
And
that's
they
embarrassing.
and then what's her name who hosted the debate with David Muir, one of
Yeah.
the moderators? So she gets up and she was talking about how brave she was at Butler, and she was like, 3 people were shot that day. One man who lost his life and 2 more crowd goers who were protecting other people. And I'm like, though 3 people got shot? What about the guy running for president
No.
who got shot? Like that guy for whom the bullets were aimed.
Listen.
What is wrong with these people?
Everything you people watching the podcast, okay, we know what's wrong with them. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but everything
Then thank God for it.
you
I
assume.
celebrate your mental illness, just so you know.
Oh, just the same. I mean,
Yeah.
if it weren't for you, I mean, what am I doing here? But everybody in the media, they are guilty of the things we say. They're like
No,
when
I
you
was,
go
I was
down there.
celebrating their mental, not yours. No, I was looking at the camera when I said that.
Either way,
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
you're safe.
That's true.
But for me, I will always have a special reverence for this dinner because it's the place where you confronted Gavin Newsom at a UTA party.
I was ready to confront him again. I heard a horrible story about Gavin Newsom.
What?
And I was ready to go up to him and recite it and then say, you know, he laid into a woman before he was mayor of San Francisco or DA, whatever stupid job he held. And he was doing some things in a broom closet with another guy.
Really?
And an employee walked in on them. And that's where the CD changer was. And was like, hey, I got to change his CDs. And her boss was there doing stuff with Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom starts going, look how ugly you are. Look how fat and ugly you are. You look like a terrorist. No one wants to be around you. Get out of here right now. And the woman was shocked and traumatized and started crying. Her boss didn't defend her. And so she immediately went and quit. And she was like, I have hated Gavin Newsom from that day. I knew exactly who he was because his dad was rich and he hung out at our restaurant all the time. And he was a known guy. And we knew that he wanted to get into politics. And then he did. And she said 5 years later, he was mayor of San Francisco. And I've hated him ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So long before there was a French laundry, there was a French kiss.
It was something.
Whoa, how very San Franciscan. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Well, those are the 2 things I take away from that dinner. Everybody is so self-absorbed and self-congratulatory that it's actually embarrassing.
Yes.
Like, I'm embarrassed for them. But we've had so many great moments along the way. We're banned from taking taxis in D.C. together because of that dinner. Because we were singing, what were we singing? Like Proud to be an American or America the Beautiful?
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, my God. It's so much better than, the way I built it up. I remember this. And let me give this to the viewer then. So we were singing Jesus songs, just making them up.
Just making them up.
you
They
know.
weren't actual church
Not
hymns.
real hymns. Like, Jesus likes Diet Coke or anything. We just anything. Jesus is a Yankee fan. Amen. It's stupid. And we were hammered. And a man who might have been of a different faith stopped the car and looked at us and said, stop talking about Jesus.
Yes, I was like, you have to stop singing right now.
He was mad about Jesus specifically, though, and the singing.
When you get the church giggles, it made it that much funnier.
There was no saving us. So it'll always have a special place in my heart for that, for you confronting Newsom.
Yeah.
And for, probably one of my favorite moments in media was Caitlyn Jenner saving me at the Correspondents' dinner. So if anyone hasn't heard this story, you should really quickly. So at the end of that dinner, as you know, it seats about 7,500 people.
Yeah, it's a massive crowded ballroom.
It's literally 7,000
The Hinckley
people.
Hilton.
If you're on the back side, because everyone goes out the same doors and down the same thin escalator, and it might take an hour if you're on the back end of that to get to the front of the line. Well, if you remember, I was in the back of that room. I had just finished doing a hit, and all of a sudden I feel this big Dikembe Mutombo hand on my forearm, and I look up and it's Caitlyn, and she goes, "Follow me, sweetie, I'll get you out of here." And just
Wow.
starts charging through the crowd, stiff-arming people like Chariots of Fire style. And because it's D.C. and it is a lot of like
I love
woke
when she
left-wing
packs
people.
her javelin.
It's the greatest thing in the world. And no one will dare say anything to a trans person in that
Yeah.
crowd. So they're just like, "Oh my God, Caitlyn Jenner, I love you." And she's like, "Out of the way, honey," and just shoving people. And it was like it's chariots of fire. Like
That's so amazing because that's how she really sounds.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Don't worry, honey. We're not going to be here all night. I'll get you out of here. Don't worry. And that's what she did. And was shoving everybody out of the way. It was
That's
amazing.
incredible.
And she got me from 7,500th to like the medal podium. I was out of that room in like 3 minutes.
Nicely done.
It was one of my favorite moments ever.
Yeah, that's using your superpower for good.
Yes, fair.
Nicely done.
I feel like I saw the Olympian version of her.
I don't know if I need to go next year. And every year I've had so much fun that I'm always like, I can't wait to go back. This is the first year I was like,
If Trump goes, it's going to be insane.
yeah.
That's
And I hope
why
he
we need him
does.
to
I
go.
really hope he does because like they deserve that and they deserve to have one of those on their terms.
Yep.
And I guess like part of it is just sort of suffocating it to make it so irrelevant because no one was talking about it.
Yeah, we didn't even do it. Like, so here's the point. Our TV show, we were supposed to be live to cover it.
Yeah.
But then they were like, well, Trump pulled out, so if anything, we'll just take the comedian. We're like, all right, I guess so. Then they're like, well, the comedian pulled out, but we had already booked an audience, so you can't like change the shoot date.
Yep.
So we went live this Saturday for the White House Correspondents dinner that we never mentioned.
Didn't even talk about it. Yeah.
Wasn't even a thing.
I saw your executive producer and he was like, I was combing the news for anything about it. And he's like, even Mediaite didn't cover it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, silly.
There
That's
was
why we can't
there
erase
wasn't even a press line. It was one guy with his iPhone. He's like, hey, do you like when Trump gets mad at the press?
Think about this. More people have seen Gavin Newsom hook up with a dude in a broom closet than have reported on the White House Correspondents' dinner on this podcast today.
Okay, but I have to clarify.
Yeah, we don't know if it's
He
true.
wasn't hooking up.
Okay.
They were doing stuff, but I'm not saying it was sexual.
Oh, and even better.
Yeah.
Even better. I
Yep.
mean, what? Wow.
I'll tell you when we wrap up, Jim.
We lost a lot of good men out there, but we also found a few. Wouldn't you know it?
They're always in the broom closet, aren't they? All right, go have a week. This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Jimmy Failla. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.